Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being at tonight's summer series for Artisan Six. You're going to learn some great stuff. Cynthia's phenomenal at this program. There's very little she doesn't know. She could be a pixie. And I always like to say she's the race car and I'm the slow bus. So I'll interpret for you if you get confused. But we're going to be talking about text wrapping tonight, and she knows all the stuff. So if everybody would go ahead and mute themselves, we will start the recording. And Cynthia, you can take it away.
Thank you very much, Kathy. So, as she said, we're going to talk about text wrapping. And text wrapping is basically just a simple tool that allows you to wrap or move your text around objects so that they fit around them without going under or over them. And so here's a page I did, I think last year, of my dad's school days. And I'll zoom in a little bit. Well, I might zoom in a little bit. There it goes. Where you can see the text down here in the corner wraps around the corner of this little notebook looking thing. And if I click on it, you can see the text box is underneath, but because I've set it to wrap under this element, it flows around the book instead of over it and under it. And so it just kind of helps give what they call a magazine look to your pages. Here's another example. As soon as Zoom lets Artisan move to the next page. And this one again, you will see where the text moves. The shapes in this next page are a little more squared off. And the text just fits nicely around each of the edges of the bounding boxes on those shapes. And yes, Zoom does not play well with Artisan, and it's very slow.
And
Moving
I'm
there.
just tickled to death that it's slow for other people, not just me. We had to do Plan B last week. Just saying, not enjoying your pain, but I'm glad y'all can see it's not just me. Okay, so go ahead. So sorry.
So this doesn't look as much like it's wrapped because the edges are very squared off. But if I click on this text box, you can see that it goes behind the photos here, but the text does not. So this is basic text wrapping that I'm going to show you first. And of course, I'm going to have to change pages, so it's going to go slowly again. I will tell you, oh, there, that one went quite quickly. Good. Okay, so I've set this up on my page with a couple of photos, and I already had put the text box on the page. And you can see at the moment that this text is on top of the photos. It's going over the photos. When I click on the text box, you can see the box goes over the photos, and you can even see the text on top of these photos. Well, obviously, I do not want that. So the first thing when you use text wrapping, the first thing you need to remember is that you need to go to the Elements panel and simply move your text box down below the items around which you want it to wrap. So if I leave it above the items, even though I tell it I want text wrapping, it's not going to do it. It's got to be below those items for the text to wrap. And then I'm going to go to each of the items in the element panel, each of these photos. I'm going to click on them, click the down arrow, and go to text, down to wrapping. And then I have two choices. I can choose the bounding box or the element shape. Now, with the photos, the bounding box is this dotted line around the photo, and it's the same shape as the photos. So I'm going to do a couple of them with bounding box and one with element shape so that you can see it's actually the same for these. So I'll go to bounding box for this one. And you see it automatically wrapped around this photo. It changed right away. I'm going to go to the next photo. And this time I'll do element shape. And I'll click there and see it's already changed. And then I'll go to this third photo and I'll wrap it around the shape again. And so you see my text is wrapped around here. But if you look in the Elements panel, I now have a yellow triangle. And that's basically because my text box is smaller than it was originally because it's wrapping around these items instead of going the full distance of the text box. If I click on the text box, you see the full distance is all the way out here, but the text is only going through about half of it. So there are a couple of things I can do to adjust that. First of all, I'm going to actually make it smaller. I'm going to slide this side of the text box over. I'm not going to slide it over. I'm going to squish it a little bit because I don't, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to move the text box over toward the photos because I want it to wrap a little differently. So I'm just going to move it. Oops, sorry. I'm going to slide it over a little bit so that it wraps a little differently. See how it changed right there? Yes, I like that better. I still haven't gotten rid of my yellow triangles, so I'm going to simply extend the bottom of the text box down. Oops. Until I get all of my text in there. Oops. My mouse has been a little funky lately. All right, and now my yellow triangle's gone, so all of my text now fits in the text box. And of course, this text doesn't make any sense because I simply doubled it all the way through. So that's just the basic wrapping. Now, if I wanted sometimes your text will bump right up next to the elements, like this one might be a little closer than I want. See how these are a little further away? So if I click on the photo where I want to adjust the distance of the text to the photo, I'm going to go to that photo, click the down arrow, go down to Properties, and over in the Properties box of the photo, not the text of the photo, in this middle area where it says text wrapping, you see where it says space around element. Right now it's none. That's just the default spacing, but I can come over here and change it. I can put 1/4 of an inch. And do you see how much space now it gives me? Or I can go back to maybe 3/32, which is basically the default. If I want a little more, I can maybe go to 1/8 of an inch. And then it just kind of cleans up that edge. It also changed this down here, but I like it better in there than I had it before. So just by changing the properties, the distance or space around this one photo, it adjusted all of my text to where I like it a little bit better. And I click OK, and I'm done with that text wrapping. So this is your basic text wrapping tool or technique or method to simply get the text around your photos. But sometimes you have a shape this doesn't necessarily work well with, or it doesn't work to the point where you need it to. And then you have to do a few other things. So I'm going to show you a couple of pages where I've no, we don't want to save it because that will take too much time. Where I've done a little bit of, it's called shape editing in order to wrap my text around the items because they're more shaped. And I had to do some customized text wrapping. And when you do this method, what you're going to be doing is editing the shape of the text box. And it's just like if you've done any editing of element shapes or photo shapes, photo boxes, it's the same sort of thing. If you see my text box here, and you see how it goes around each of these items a little differently, when I click on it, I'm going to zoom in. Maybe I'm going to zoom in. It'll catch up to me in a minute. There we go. And the text box it's pretty plain up at the top, but look at the bottom. You see where it's not at all the same? It doesn't have a solid or a straight bounding box line. And then the line out here is curved. So this line curves and then comes up here. And so it's not that squared off text box like you normally see. And so what I had to do was I put this curved line in here. It may actually be a circle And then I added some points to shape my text box so it would flow into this area and around this element better. This page is very similar. Well, the text box editing technique is similar. Let's see if it will pull this up. Where I've had to edit the shape of the text box in order to get the text to wrap around what's going to show up as a little suitcase. In just a moment, I hope. I've run out of things to say. Does anybody have any questions so far? You'll have to come off mute to ask.
Yes, I do.
Yes, ma'am.
So in the one that you showed us, the first example where
Mhm.
you moved the elements in terms of, I guess, their position on the page, is that the same as doing it at the top where you maybe say, send it to the back or bring it to the front, or does that operate differently?
No, it's the same principle, and you're not actually moving them in their position on the page. You're moving them in their layer. So, your page has multiple layers. If you think of a traditional scrapbook page where the background paper is the bottom layer and then you stack things on top of it, your elements panel are the layers. And so the very top item in your elements panel is the top layer, and so forth and so on. And so, yes, so I moved in the
kitty
one
one.
that I show you, the kitty one, the demo, I moved the text box down below the layer of the photos. Yes. And so when you use just the standard or basic text wrapping from like I showed you there, you have to put the text box in a layer below the items. Now, if I was only wrapping around one of the photos, I'd only have to move it below that one. But since I was wrapping around all three, it needed to go below all three of them. Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yes, you can change the order of your elements in this panel, well, not the order, the layer order of the elements in your panel. For example, this little tag on the suitcase, if I move it, let's see if I do this correctly. Right now it's below, oh no, I'm sorry. It's off to the side. Never mind. Let's
It's okay.
see.
I understand how you explained it.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate on a page like this where you have multiple things.
Yeah.
That really helps you to know where your item is going.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's great.
Perfect. All right. Now, when you do shape editing for text wrapping, it really does not matter if the text box is above or below the item in your panel, because you're not going to be clicking on the item. See, my text right now is wrapped around this suitcase. It's flush with the pictures, but it's wrapped around this suitcase. So if I click on the text box, whoops, I don't want to do that, but you can see here how it's shaped. And you see, I've got multiple different little lines here that show it shaping around this suitcase, but it's flush on the side with the pictures. It's also wrapped. This was not an element in and of itself. This is part of the background picture. And I adjusted the text box to wrap around the wing or I don't know what part of that airplane that is, but to wrap around those parts of the airplane. So in this case, it does not matter if your text box is above or below. And let's see, oh, I did it again. And let's see, mine is actually below the suitcase, but it's above the airplane picture. So I'm going to show you the shape editing way to do text wrapping. So let's go here again, back to my demo page. I'm going to hide my little babies there and open this one up. So you can see that this element has more shapes to it. And I possibly could use the typical basic text wrapping, but I'm going to make some adjustments here just so that you can see the shape editing. So let me ungroup that. And my text box, and I might actually move this up here. All right, so to edit the text box, the shape of the text box, I'm going to click on the text box, click on the down arrow, and this time I'm going to shape, then edit shape. And basically what I'm going to do is add points where I want to adjust the text box and where it lands. So I'm going to put a point in here, and then I'm going to put a point here, and oops, it's my mouse. There we go. And then I'm going to drag that over. And I'm going to put another point here. I don't want text down in here, but I'm going to drag this here. And then I'm going to put a point there. Drag my line. Why don't we go here? And I think I might move this one. So I'm going to move this. And you can play with it and adjust it. So I don't really like that word down in the bottom. But I really want words to fill in here. So I'm going to try and bring this back to, oh, there it goes. But I need them out from there. There you go. And I might actually move this one so they come in a little bit. So then I'm going to put a point here. And leave that there. Where did I need my
While you're giving your running commentary, I'm cracking up because you picked the hardest shape in the world. I'm like, really?
I did. I picked and the thing is, I don't go to Disney World, so it really is not even one that I would use. So, and let's put this. I want it to go there. So. Oops. And see, I want those, and see, I'm just playing with it to make sure I get, like, I want these words in, but I don't want them over the flag. And so I can just play with this until I kind of get it where I want it. And I'm going to bring that there. And I can even make them curve into that. There, I'm going to have to slide this down so I can see what I'm doing. And yeah, there's lots of little angles in this one. Oops. And basically, when I add a point, I don't know if you can see this. When it gets to the crosshairs, then I can add a point. When I get to the hand pointing, I can then move that point over. And I can probably just move this. Oops, that went too far. Put that there. And I want this to come back. There. And I'm probably going to need to move this down. Because I've got more words down here. So I may need to, I'm going to click OK for that. And then, oops, that's not what I want to do. All right, so I may need to, I can move my text box a little bit. I'll move it up a little bit there. And then I probably need to go in and adjust my font. Yes, so see that I just adjusted the size so that it now all fits. And it looks like I've got room that I can pick up. But I would probably never do a 16-point. Let's do 14 point. Oops, well, let me. There, we'll just leave it at 14. And then I can move this. There. And so you see, I just drew, excuse me. I just drew kind of the text box around the shape to make the words go where I wanted them to. And if I moved it down further, then I would just simply need to go back and adjust my lines so that they fit around my shape. And So this is a little bit more customized and a little more tedious, takes a little bit longer depending on your shape that you choose. I would probably not use this one to do text wrapping. But it does allow you to then wrap around odd shaped things. More past just the squared off bounding box or element shape. Any questions about that? Okay, so Kathy has asked me to move. Actually, don't want to save this. Let me come back up.
Or just now that you've shown the concept, go back to 14 with the circle
Mm-hmm.
and show. Yeah, I was just gonna say put the cats on a blank page.
I will.
Okay.
How
Yeah,
about that?
perfect.
Okay, so how about if I've got to ungroup them again?
Cynthia,
Yeah.
can you not change it's not letting, but the space between the sentences a little bit? Is there some way you can?
Yes, I can show you how to do that. Okay,
Okay.
I'll just hide this one. And I'll move this one. Kathy, will this work where they're just kind of squared off?
Yeah, perfect.
Show that a little more simple. Okay, so again, this text box needs to be moved below in the elements panel. So it's in a layer below those photos. And I'm going to go to this first photo and click the down arrow, go to text, wrapping. And I typically use element shape, but in this case, like if it's a flower that has a square around it or bounding box or then I will use the element shape. Why don't you want me to show that, Kathy?
No, I was
Okay.
saying show them how to edit
I will.
their
Oh,
text
to
shape
edit. Okay, so let me put
without,
this in here.
right.
All right, let me put this in here.
But this is great too.
All right, so to edit, all right, so I click on the picture and go to properties. And I'm going to add the space around it. That's 1/8 of an inch. That's pretty good. Put that one okay. I'm going to do the same thing for this picture. Go to the picture, click on properties, go to space around the element in the properties panel and go to 1/8. And that was already at 1/8, so I'll leave it there. Okay, the lines in between. Okay, so once again, not all of my text is going to fit. So this time I'm just going to. Sometimes you have things over on this other side and you can't stretch it sideways. So it depends on where you have other elements on your page. I'm going to stretch it. Oh, thank you. And I'll stretch it down. I still have too much. I'm going to shift it up. Up. Here. Did you let me move it faster? See, as I move it, it just keeps. Yeah, that got all of it. Okay, now if I want to adjust the lines, I'm going to click the down arrow on the text box and go to text and go to format. I can change my font here. I can do some of those changes up in the quick access toolbar as well. Like I can change the font, the size, the color, whether it's bold, italic, or underlined. Or if I open up the elements, the properties panel to format it, I can make those changes here as well. The problem is it has to be highlighted to make the changes to the font and size from the properties panel. But if I need to adjust my line spacing, let's say I just want them closer together, I can go down to the layout and I can adjust the line spacing. Now that's too close for me. That's pretty good. That's a little bit more normal looking line spacing. If I want to adjust the font from this point, I believe I have to highlight it. Oops. Let me see if it'll let me adjust the font. I don't think it will. Oh, yes, it will. I'm sorry. I apologize. So I can adjust the font because I'm in properties. I did formatting, didn't I? I can adjust the size of the font. I can make it bold. So I can make those adjustments in the properties panel as well. I think I can do, if I do the alignment, it's gonna kind of, you're not gonna get that sharp edge on the one side. Depending on where you see, if it's aligned to the right, is that the right side? Then it does a little flatter edge here. If I align it where it's full, then it will kind of square off the entire thing. Or if I leave it to the left, then I get, looks more like it's written in there normally. With the text wrapping, the alignment you cannot change from top, middle, or bottom. You can change the perspective width-wise, but not where it aligns to the top, middle, or bottom of the box. Kathy, does that answer those questions? Is that what you're looking for?
I was just going to say, I don't know that we've covered how to actually edit the shape. So I was just going to have you go through those steps. Not, this was great. It was a great review of what you did. But I was just going to say, put the shape on the, from like your castle
Oh, go back and do the
and how they
editing of
move the
shape.
points. Yeah, just
Okay.
with a little more simple picture so they can get the concept of moving the
Alright,
points
I got
on the
it, I got
text
it.
box.
I understand. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me take off. Let me, well, it doesn't matter. Let me put this back where it's a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay. So basically you're going to write, you can click on the down arrow of the text box in the elements panel, or you can right click. You're going to go to shape, not text, but shape, edit shape. And now I can start adding points to my lines. For example, I'm going to need the text to go here. So I'm going to add a point. Actually, I'm just going to pull this line in and drag it in. Now I can add a point here. And I'm going to, with that little crosshair, that's how I add the point. And then I need to see my hand with the finger pointing and oops. And move that line over again. And then I want it to come up into this area. So I'm going to click and add a point, and then I'm going to drag that line up in here. And it doesn't have to be straight. You see, it could just so long as I get it to where the text is where I want it to be. And then I'm going to just drag this line once I get to the hand with the finger pointing over here. Now, if this is not close enough for me, then I just simply, I think that's going to move the whole line. I'm going to just drag, that's too much. Drag this back just a little bit. Well, it went. Let's see what I can do to make this do what I want to do. It's going to do that. It's the words. See, sometimes it's your words will also impact. Let's see, I can fix that by going up here. Oops. Okay, so if I go to the quick access toolbar and change this, I thought I accepted that. There we go. And change the size of my font. Now see the words fill in a little bit closer to what I would like. Is that what you're talking about, Kathy?
Just, yeah, that was it. Just how you get the point and move it so you can manually. This was an easier example than the castle, but it's the same thing.
It is the same principle. Yes. To add a point, you need the little, you have to be shape, edit shape. And to add the point, you need those crosshairs. To move the point, you just have to keep moving your mouse and hovering until you get to the hand that points, and then you can drag the line. If you get the next crosshair, you're going to add another point. If you get this, it's going to move the whole text box. So the crosshairs add a point, the hand moves the point.